going back to the microdosing or psychedelics in general, what do you think is needed right now? What type of research is needed to kind of keep on pushing where we're heading? Like I basically what I want is I think there's two worlds here. There's the world of people who are enthusiasts. Actually, there's three worlds. There's people who are enthusiasts. There's the old world where it's like medicine healers and shamans. And then there's a scientific world. And all of them serve their purpose. Mm-hmm. What do you think we need right now? What type of studies do we need to kind of really push this more into a safer narrative?
What do you mean when you say safer narrative?
So it might not be a good description. So maybe more or less a more optimal way of utilizing these medicines. Like you and I before the show were talking about iboga. Mm-hmm. Or like anything. It can be shrooms, it can be LSD, it can be ayahuasca. You pick your medicine. And traditionally speaking, shamans would tell you to take this much of a dose. This is how you do it. Cool. So they have thousands of years of wisdom. I get it, and I respect that. But at the exact same time, I know for a fact my mother will never do that. Mm-hmm. And I know she can benefit from it. But maybe we find in studies that we don't need to necessarily do 5 grams of X. Maybe we come to a realization that 0.5 every 4 days actually gives you good results because we just don't know right now.
Right.
And so what do you think is necessary? What types of studies right now do we need to kind of start doing to find these answers out?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great question. And I'm trying to think. So my answer betrays my biases. So I think that we need to do more work on a variety of doses because we don't know exactly what is the effective dose. Robin Carhart-Harris wrote a paper with Carl Friston. It was published this year. It discusses something that they refer to as the rebus model.
Okay.
And so Carl Friston, Robin Carhart-Harris is like the most famous guy who does psychedelics research, but Carl Friston is, I think a lot of lay people have never heard of him, and he's one of the most influential psychologists of our generation. He came up with this thing called the free energy principle. I don't want to talk about it too much, but in this specific paper, they posit that in order to see effective change in the brain and therefore in behavior and experience, you need large doses. And I'm not clear on why they think that that is the case. I respect both of these scholars immensely, right? They're awesome. But I also think that this is I think that they put forward an interesting theory, but again, having my bias, I'm like, why do we need large doses? It really seems that microdosing does something. And because there's no reliable research so far, it's really hard for me to make this claim more strongly. I'm more saying, yeah, maybe the next thing we should be doing is looking at a variety of doses. And I think that there are a couple of people that are interested in doing that, but one of them is Compass Pathways. And they're mostly interested in monetizing it. So I don't know that any of their work will be published in the foreseeable future. I think that more broadly, perhaps, rather than specific things that we should study, which I would say is different doses, different schedules, set and setting, just basic stuff. I think more broadly that a lot of people, especially the enthusiasts you mentioned, they're fast. We got to get this done now.
Yeah, yesterday.
The door is open and we gotta push. And I appreciate, again, this is my bias. I appreciate where they're coming from. I think there are a lot of people that suffer, and we could really help people if we made this more widely available. But I also think that there's an inherent risk in that. And we've already messed this up once, right? Perhaps not the scientific community, maybe not the healers, not the therapists.
Yeah.
It's no one in particular, but there was a perfect storm there.
Yeah, I read that in Michael Pollan's book.
Yeah.
The history, yeah.
And I thought he did
a good job.
Yeah, great job of that. So I think that each of us, whichever our group is, we need to kind of decide what's best long term. I understand that if you see people in your life that are suffering and you just want to help them so much. But I'm also thinking we need to try and take it slow and be careful and do really solid work so that future generations can build on this rather than, go leaps and bounds. And then there's a lot of missing space in the middle. And I'm saying this, I think, again, where I'm coming from is I was doing mindfulness research before psychedelics. And that shit, it's all garbage. All that field is not 100%, but it's bad. And it's because, and I think we can really liken what's going on with psychedelics now to the beginning of the interest in mindfulness, but it's coming on much faster. It's like, oh, wow, this could be good for a bunch of people, for a bunch of indications. We should maybe try it for this, try it for that. And then instead of kind of trying to understand how it does what it does, what exactly it does, who it's good for, what it's good for, now you just have mindfulness, like mindful this, mindful that. Everyone, it's just like a buzzword that means nothing. And we can't afford to do that with psychedelics. Like you could break people's minds with psychedelics.
I've known people who've snapped from it.
Yeah. So I am worried that we're going to go the same route. And instead of having psychedelic this, psychedelic that, and just it being super popular, you're just going to have nothing again. Because these substances are powerful.
Same thing like in marijuana. Like, listen, I'll be the first one. I've done a lot of drugs. I've OD'd twice back in my party days. Like I'm 34. This is when I was like 18, 19. Uppers and downers, raves, 3 nights. Like end up in the hospital. Anyways, I've done it all. I've done almost all of the psychedelics. I've had crazy trips. Brother, my worst trip was edibles. Hands down.
Really?
Hands down.
What was that like?
Oh, fuck, the worst. I'll tell you. I don't know. It's probably I think it was like 400 or 500 milligrams. This is a lot. This is a long time ago. And I knew what I did. So it's not like, oh, it's a mystery. The thing with when I overdosed twice before, it's like, I'm not conscious. Okay, so there's like a brief 1 hour, 2 hour window. I feel fucked. Then I black out. Then I'm offline. I wake up, I'm in the ambulance or the hospital. So the actual feeling of the experience is non-existent. So there's no pain. There's no psychological ramification. It's like, oh shit, I know what happened. Here I am. Don't do that again. Obviously, I didn't learn from my first lesson. Psychedelics is like, okay, I'm going through the process. Yeah, it's scary depending on what you're doing. Okay. However, edibles is a whole different level. So one, they do become psychoactive when you eat it, as opposed to smoke it. I was sitting on a bed, pale-faced, cold sweats, running in and out of the washroom for like 6 hours.
Jeez.
Shivering like this in a fucking wormhole. The problem is you're conscious of what you're experiencing. That's the problem. It's not enjoyable. And I'm just there like this for hours. No joke, just for hours, shaking in this wormhole. And the fucked up thing is like, I know I'm fucked up. I know what I did. And like your mind is racing as opposed to like I've done DMT, the vape. I've done Hero's Journey of Shrooms and I'm blasted. Like it's like a crazy experience. And I have bad trips on shrooms, gonna be wrong, but it's, I can't even, it's not even on the same fucking planet as me taking edibles. But yet here we are, edibles now coming everywhere. And I'm like, yo guys, like fucking be careful with fucking edibles.
So I wonder what's going to happen, right? Like with the federal election it's now, and Scheer saying, hey, maybe I won't keep weed legal, which is just crazy to me. But then, so you have, I think people are going to vote for that. I think there's still Canadians and people globally who really think that maybe weed shouldn't be legal.
Yeah.
And then you got those people and you got edibles, and that could be a bad mix. Like people could get really bad trips, same as you.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm worried, to be honest. Yeah. I'm so excited about what's going on right now with psychedelics, but I'm also worried because I can see that it's a double-edged sword.
Like for me, the research that I care about going forward is, yes, I agree. Like let's figure out the dosage. Let's figure out quality, how you grow it. Standardization is really important. Set and setting, actually creating a playbook, like anything in life. But also then figuring out, okay, like we mentioned, this isn't for everybody. Like how many people are on pharmaceutical drugs? SSRIs, benzos, Ritalin, Adderall, whatever, you name it. I'm not a scientist here. I'm an enthusiast. But I'm going to view this from Occam's razors, like just basic perception. I don't know if that's a good idea that you should be doing psychedelics while you're on these pharmaceutical drugs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
But most people maybe not think that way. You know what I mean? So it's like there should be precautions. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we actually understand the like neurochemistry of certain psychedelics pretty well. Like LSD has been studied extensively by like people like David Nichols, who's brilliant, and he's like, yeah, I'm kind of a fanboy. He's awesome. He's so smart. And
Where is he in the States?
Yeah, and he's kind of, I think he's retired already.
Okay.
But his son, Charles Nichols, is still doing work. So I'm going to a conference this weekend that he's organizing that's just like on psychedelics by scientists for scientists.
Cool.
I've never been to one of these. Every conference I go to is like, you know, half scientists, half everyone else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty stoked. And